Welcome to part 2 of my track day at Combe. Now, as you saw in part 1, I was having a few teething issues with the gearbox, where the engine was dropping down a gear without me doing anything. So on the back straight, I'd shift up to 6th or 5th, and the bike would drop down into 4th without me doing anything. And I had originally thought this was due to the chain, and I thought that when I edited the last video. However, just before the 5th session, the bike would refuse to start. It would not start before the 5th session. I was there for a good minute, and I was nearly about to throw in the towel and say, you know what, the bike's had enough today. After this, the bike did actually start, and I was able to do the 5th session, but it was noticeably down on power. It was quite obvious that the bike wasn't pulling the same it was in 6th and 5th on the last session. And actually in the video you can see I don't hit the same 155, 160 mile an hour down the back straight, indicated probably 140. When I got home, I took the bike out to the shed and I did a bit of maintenance. So I took the spark plugs out and I noticed that none of them were tight, and I definitely torqued them down before, so that was a bit concerning. I took out spark plug 3 and the threads were pretty much ruined. The spark plug wouldn't tighten again, so it had blown the threads out, maybe from the downshifting on the back straight. I repaired that thread in spark plug 3, we were as good as new. The spark plug threaded in lovely. I then did a compression test just because I was slightly concerned the bike was a bit down on power, and unfortunately the compression test wasn't as I was hoping. Typically, as far as I'm aware, read about 150 to 200 across all 4 cylinders. Obviously, you don't want too much variation between those. Sort of 10-15 psi is as much as you want. I didn't go above 120 on my compression test, so we were around 105 to 115 on each cylinder, so really quite low. Could be piston rings. So instead of spending some money on the 600 engine, I've decided to go to a 750. It's something I've thought about for a while. I found a really good condition 750 engine that I'm picking up this weekend, and I will do a bit of filming on swapping the system over. What you may notice is after the sighting lap, I'm still quite easy on the bike. There's a few reasons for this. One, I just want to give the bike a chance to warm up and make sure everything's ready to go. And 2 is the fact that my tyres are really quite old. I only realised this the day before going to track, but the tyres are actually 8 years old or 7 years old. And they've just sat in my shed and gone through a lot of temperature cycles. So they've gone cold in the winter and very hot in the summer when the shed is boiling. So I haven't looked after them very well, and I was slightly concerned that the aging rubber would be my detriment. But they're actually fine and I had nothing to worry about. But it's always good to be cautious on the first few laps. something I've noticed watching back this footage is just how many times I let off the throttle to avoid an overtake. They made it very clear not to overtake on the inside of the back straight here. The instructor did so just before me, and I think he timed it really well so he didn't get in his way and he didn't steal an apex. I thought if I'd have followed him, I probably would have been a bit close, and I think I was a bit nervous about getting in someone's way or causing a mishap on track. I did fancy my next track day to be Cadwell Park, and I'm actually not going to do Cadwell Park because I think the narrow track would be awkward for me to try and practice my overtakes. So I'm thinking about Snetterton next, but I am going to grab an instructor and just ask their opinion on where I should be overtaking and maybe give me some pointers on overtaking in future. So as you can hear, the bike was off at the start of this clip here. It had stalled. Not my doing this time, but it did struggle to start a little bit. And then I don't know if you can hear in the video, but it's running on 3 cylinders for a second. Now, obviously, now we know that's probably cylinder 3 and the spark plug not being sufficiently inserted into the cylinder. And I think you can tell in this session that the speed that I'm doing is down from the last couple laps. And I think this is just because the power just isn't there, which is really unfortunate, but never mind, I still had a great time. my condition was going to prevent me from riding quickly, or I was going to be a rolling roadblock and everyone would be like, you have to leave. But in actual fact, I felt like I rode really well. I didn't hold anyone up. I was the quicker half of the group. The SRAD performed amazing, although it nearly didn't start the last session. Don't know what that was about, but then it started fine. It was just a little bit down on power, so it doesn't need looking at. But a fantastic day, and now we're going to head home and put the SRAD to bed. So I'm just editing up the final part of this track day adventure, and I just want to say thank you, really. I've had some really nice comments on the last video. I've really enjoyed making this, and I will be doing more track days. I've had some really nice constructive criticism in the comments about my riding, which is definitely needed. Obviously this is my first track day, and hopefully I'll improve from here. But I just want to say a big thank you. It's had some really good views, it's had some really nice comments, and I think people are engaging with it, which is really important to me. I am in the process of booking my second track day, so leave in the comments where you think I should go next. I'm considering Snetterton. I was going to do Donington. I really want to do Donington, but the problem with Donington is the sound, for one. I'm really nervous about the noise. There's one that would line up perfectly with my schedule, but it's 98 decibels. At Castle Combe, everyone was getting 105 decibels. Like, the guy was just going 105, that guy's 105, 105. So I'm not really sure how loud the bike was. I have got a sound meter, but Donington's a flyby, so it's hard to test really how loud it's going to be. Snetterton's a good option for me. Those dates line up well. I basically want to do 2 days on track. So I felt like at Castle Combe, if I'd have gone on the second day, I would have been able to grab an instructor and learn a little bit more. But obviously, only had the 1 day there. So I'm looking to do 2 days. Snetterton, Castle Combe, Cadwell Park is an option, but as I mentioned, I'm a little bit nervous about the technicality of that track and the overtaking. Maybe I'm just being an idiot, but just feels like overtaking there would be really challenging for me. And obviously, yeah, I mean, I've met a few people since doing this track day in the sort of biking world, in the track day world. I bought a couple bits for my SRAD. I've met some really nice guys. I just picked up a swinging arm yesterday, and the guy gave me some free coil packs and stuff. It's just so generous and so lovely. I've really loved it, and I will be doing more. There probably won't be a tour this year because I'm actually moving house, but I'm hoping to continue with the track days. I'm hoping to get 2 or 3 more track days in this year, provided everything goes well and I don't go destitute, because it is quite an expensive hobby. But yeah, that's everything. Thank you so much for watching. Keep an eye out for the next video, and I shall be posting updates about where I decide to book. Thanks again.